Welcome, everyone, back to the podcast of champions. I'm David Woods from Bruin Report Online, the UCLA site on the 24/7 Sports Network.
And I'm Ryan Abraham from USCFootball.com, the USC site on the 24/7 Sports Network. And together we make the podcast of champions.
Wow.
Talking all things Pac-12 football. My phone just fell. It was like this, making this noise.
Yeah, that was weird.
I got to check into a flight, so I wanted my phone in front of me so I remember to check in for my flight because it's Southwest, 24 hours ahead of time. I'm going to Chicago this weekend, David.
For what? Is Oregon Washington being played in Chicago?
There's not. No.
Is it some lesser team that's playing in or around the Chicago area?
Much lesser.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you going to a Northwestern game?
2 hours from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you been to South Bend, Indiana?
I have. I went in 2006. It was the closest I've come to crying about a sporting event in my adult life.
Oh, what happened there?
UCLA went to South Bend. This was against a pretty good Notre Dame team.
Okay.
In 2006, and they had a lead very late in the game. It was a really good defensive struggle. Remember, that was the UCLA team with good defense. They beat USC that year.
Yeah.
And then they allowed Jeff Samardzija in like basically 3 plays.
The pitcher.
Go from like the 20 to the end zone to lose the game. In a game where they had dominated defensively, and then they went into a turtling prevent defense there at the end, which is now, in fairness, it is a time-honored and lovely UCLA tradition to do that. But I was 20. It was a tough time for me.
Well, yeah. So I'll be in South Bend. You stay in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You go to South Bend just for the game. Now it's pretty campus and everything, but that's not where you want to stay.
No, you got to stay in Chicago. We stayed in Chicago even when we were on the Daily Bruin budget.
Yeah. Cam said it's the Civil War being played in Chicago.
Yes. That's a good point.
Yes.
This is the Civil War. Does this stupid one have a name? USC Notre Dame?
And they play it for the Jeweled Shillelagh.
Okay, but is that the name?
No, it's just USC Notre Dame. Like, I don't know. I don't think they have a name for it.
Okay, it's the Apple Cup.
Okay, well, no, it's the Civil War.
Is it, though?
You don't like it?
No, I think it's the Apple Cup.
UVS said I sounded like Michael Buffer right there.
You did. It escalated rapidly on your intro, and I meant to bring it up, but then you asked me a question, and I forgot about it.
Oh, okay.
But you really just rose. There was no crescendo moment. There was no bringing it down. It just kind of went straight up.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
You want to do a question like right off the bat?
Sure.
Why not? We haven't even done the intro yet. Gentlemen, this is from YouTube. We are live on YouTube, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a simulcast or whatever you want to call it. What is this? I don't know what the hell you say. It's
Drag Racing Duelist.
Oh, nice. Okay. It's really small on my screen here.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, what is the most dangerous animal you could defeat in a 1-versus-1 fight? Exclude animals like snakes, bugs, etc. that are small and deadly, but could easily be stepped on.
I would have to think one of the like smaller wild dogs or smaller wild cats, right? Like one of the ones that like, I don't know. I don't even know where you grade them, but like some version of a bobcat, one of the smaller ones.
I don't know. They got the claws.
But I feel like, with mass comes some advantage.
Yeah.
Once they get clawed into you, then you grab them and you just like kind of sit on them and crush them.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're losing eyes and stuff, but I think I'd have a chance.
Yeah.
But, like, honestly, like, maybe a medium-sized dog, but that's about it. Like, I could probably take on, like, a 40-pound dog and be okay.
What about, like, a medium-sized, like, alligator or something?
Not a chance in hell. Are you kidding?
Because you
can do that weird thing where, if you, like, close their mouth, don't they go to sleep or some shit?
I think so, or upside down. And, like, you could be outside the water and, like, grab by the tail, maybe.
I don't feel good about any of that
stuff.
Those
like super dangerous. Like, you might be able to fuck
Yeah,
with.
they can move like whips. Like, it's not... I don't think that would be very easy.
What about a kangaroo? No,
kangaroo would fuck you up, man. No, there's no way. They'd kick the shit out of you.
EVS says Dave, a bobcat would tear your ass up. I think so,
No,
too.
I don't. This is where my lack. So if you want to find like a real gap in my understanding of the world, like talk to me about some talk to me about some like zoology at some point, because I don't know shit about animals. There's some type of wild cat that's smaller. I'm talking about that one. It might not be a bobcat, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's sort of funny. We're talking about this stuff, and like Oregon Washington fans are already fighting in the chat, which is great. Like talking about Ted Bundy was a Husky, and Bo Nix throws sideline passes or whatever. Like this is great. We do have to talk about football. Well, I guess we'll get into it. Yeah, we got a great show for you today. We're previewing an amazing week.
Wait, you
7.
didn't give an answer. What wild animal would you defeat?
I said
you thought an alligator?
I think I could, like, because they're small to the ground. I think
people are giving me shit because I'm like trying to argue that I could fight something a little bit bigger than a house cat, and you're saying you can fight an alligator, and nobody's giving you any shit.
I'm giving because they see I'm long, lean. I'm feeling like because they're like low to the ground. Yeah, you're right. Like kangaroo would fuck you up. They can stand up and stuff. But I feel like you could strategically get around alligator stuff.
There was something so funny. I saw like it was a graphic of like the rest of the world versus Americans. It was a poll of you think you can defeat an X in a fight, and it was like a lion, a bear, an alligator, like all these different things. And the rest of the world, it's all like 5%, like 2%. Americans, it's like 30%. 50%. Like, oh, I could fight a bear. Yeah. It's amazing. I love it.
Jim says, Dave, you could whip a puffin's ass.
I could beat the shit out of a puffin. In fact, I do often.
We could do puffins, but like how many would be like the critical mass where you I could take
no,
on
but
too
that's
many
that's the best question is how many 8-year-olds could you beat in a fight?
Right. We think we talked about this on the show before. Like I probably like 100 puffins. Like I think I can do. I don't know.
Again, it's all about are they coming one at a time? One at a time, I could beat the 8-year-olds until I get exhausted.
This is a swarm.
Yeah. But if they swarm you, you're in trouble.
All right. Well, we do have a great show. We're actually talking about college football. We should have done this last week when it sucked. You know, we got ranked on ranked matchups. Yep. No, even Pac-12 after dark this week. So we're going to preview all of week 7. We will do our picks against the spread, and where I do my picks is my bookie. So when your money's on the line, you choose a trusted sports book that gives you tools to win, like my bookie. At my bookie, it doesn't matter if your team is up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. So you can use my bookie for daily odds boosts, same game parlays. You can take advantage of huge prize pool contests. Plus, my bookie has no strings attached cash bonus that'll let you deposit and withdraw very quickly. If you use the promo code, this is our code only, Pac-12, on your first deposit, you get up to $200 in cash. So promo code Pac-12 to claim your own cash bonus now. So try the MyBookie money bag. It's a potential Super Bowl frontrunner like the Eagles or the Chiefs, and you can get them at crazy odds like plus 38,000. You won't find odds like that anywhere else. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only at MyBookie. And we do have a fun show. We are live on YouTube. Thank you. If you're in the chat, please put your questions in there, and I'll try to star them, and we'll get to them later, or we just talk to them whenever I want. If I see something cool, like what kind of animal could you defeat, before we even did all our intros and everything. Email, if you want to email us. We got a ton of emails before, because we just did a show 2 days ago, but pac12podcast@gmail.com. I'm getting notifications on my computer, which is great. 424-532-0678 is the number if you want to call or text us. And of course, tweet us at Pac-12 Podcast, the website where all our stuff is, all the content, pac12podcast.com. And then you can go to the Apple Podcasting app and follow or rate us with 5 stars. We always appreciate it. Last show we had like 6 reviews or something. I don't know. Do we have any new ones this week, David?
We have none. We have no new reviews.
That's fine.
That's fine.
We got a whole bunch before. You didn't even bold the games in there. But we got to do a lot of picks.
I don't do that. That's a you thing.
That's a me thing. I like things to look good. I like them to look good. That's just the way I like to go. Okay, so we have to do the survival pool. We talked about this. What do we have, like 74 people left or something like that? I believe that was the last. So make sure you enter your picks. The links are everywhere. We put the links on pac12podcast.com. They're in on the YouTube channel, and they are in any of the podcasting, wherever you get the podcast. We put that link in there. So make sure you put in your picks if you're still alive. If you're not still alive, I'm sorry. You can wait till next year. Don't put your picks in. Don't do duplicate picks. So pick a team you haven't picked yet. This week, do we not want to reveal? We said you didn't want to reveal, right?
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I'm going with Utah.
And I'm going to go with Colorado.
Yep.
So Colorado, were they playing Stanford?
Mm-hmm.
I feel pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm.
And Utah's got the resurgent Cal that's scoring like 40 points a game.
I don't know if I'd call them that.
Resurgent.
They're still on track to win 3 or maybe 4
Man, they're
games.
going to whoop some Utes' ass. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I would normally, not root, but since you're picking Utah, I'm rooting against you.
Wow.
You remember last year? Like I was out like super early. I forget who lost. Someone lost, like Arizona State or something, like lost early.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were out like week 1 or week 2.
Yeah, because there was like this huge upset. Or no, was it like Arizona losing to North? Or maybe that was 2 years ago. Yeah. Okay, so we got to get to a bunch of the games. Anything else you want to say? Was there any news?
I don't think we had any news. Yeah, there's some more legal wrangling with the whole lawsuit thing where apparently Klyavkov said in the Comcast battle that UCLA and USC were no longer voting members of the Pac-12, so that would play hell with their argument that they should still be voting members of the Pac-12 along with the other departed schools for anything going forward. So Wilner seems to think that's significant. I'll trust him because I don't care enough to find out.
Yeah, it's when you think about it, like USC and UCLA left a long time ago, but everyone's leaving at the same time. I feel like everyone should have the same status. USC didn't.
Yeah, and the status should be you have no say in what goes forward.
USC and UCLA weren't voting.
Right.
Colorado shouldn't be voting now. Utah shouldn't be voting now. Oregon shouldn't be voting now. I don't get why this is a big deal. Do you feel it's a big deal that Klyavkov didn't go or didn't speak? I don't know if he wasn't there. Pac-12 basketball media days were going on.
I mean, what the hell was he going to say? When he last spoke at Pac-12 Media Day for football, the conference still existed. It no longer exists. So
I mean, it's still got to exist, like for.
Yeah, but what's he going to say?
I don't know.
Like, there's nothing to say, and I think he opens himself up, given all of the like weird lawsuit stuff going on right now, to liability he probably doesn't need. So just chill out. Yeah, hang out in Montana wherever you are. It's cool. Bill Walton not being there, that was cited by a bunch of people as a sadness.
Why was he not there?
I don't know.
You don't go? Do you guys go to media day?
Tracy went. Yeah.
Tracy. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We
haven't made a habit of it, but since UCLA is actually good again, we like to pay attention to them where they go.
Yeah, I didn't send anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I love going to Vegas, but it's like football season, so that's.
It's kind of crazy that you didn't take that opportunity to go to Vegas midweek.
Wait, when was it? It was like earlier in the week?
Mm-hmm. It was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday. Nice.
Literally yesterday.
Okay. So we got to preview all of our week 7 games. And like I said, it is a great slate. Could separate the contenders, the pretenders.
Were you going to go the men from the boys?
No.
It felt like you were.
No. I wrote in the thing. Can we bring this up? The chat people. So I write all the copy for all this stuff. And Dave's the writer. Like, I'm writing all this stuff. You can do this. We should have you write some of it.
Wait, are you saying you wrote what you just said?
I think I wrote somewhere in there, like pretender and contender.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just so everyone knows behind the scenes, Ryan writes those long blog posts nobody reads, like the ones that are on the Pac-12 podcast page. And then he also writes all the copy that goes into the story page that's on 247 Sports.
It's usually the same.
Writing stuff like that drives me absolutely insane. Because it's just like thoughtless, like brr, just like make the typewriter go burr. I can't do it. I'm amazed every time when I go into one of those things, and I'm like, wait, these are 3 entirely novel paragraphs. Like these are not. He didn't just copy and paste from a previous post.
No,
this is just 3 entirely new paragraphs, and it's pre-written about what we're going to talk about, which feels awfully predictive to me. You never know where this show's going to go.
True.
And it's impressive. I just wanted to cite that. It's the most impressive thing Ryan does for this show. It's also the only thing he does for the show.
Yes, that's it.
Obviously, I do everything else.
You could do some of those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. First up, we have a Friday game this week, David. We didn't do any kind of Friday game last week because it just wasn't that great of a slate. But we have, and I don't know, this squad, like, they went to a lot of BCS bowl games and stuff. They must be good. I haven't paid attention yet, but we got
Stanford Cardinal.
Where are you, Zodiac Killer? And they're going on the road to take on
Colorado Buffaloes.
All right, so this game is Friday at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Stanford at Colorado. Colorado's an 11.5-point favorite. I don't understand. I don't understand. I truly do not understand how everyone is still thinking Stanford is a respectable football team capable of covering 11.5 points on the road. What are we doing here? Because Colorado's got flaws, right? They've
played close games.
They've played some close games. Have any of them been against a team as just bereft of talent and horrible on both sides of the ball as Stanford?
No.
I'm struggling with this one. I'm just struggling to see how Stanford keeps this within a couple of touchdowns. They had a competitive loss to Sac State and a competitive loss to Arizona, both at home. They beat Hawaii. Hawaii is, obviously one of the worst teams in all of college football. They've been blown out at USC, blown out by Oregon at home. Colorado is not those teams, but it is a pretty darn good offense. I'm taking Colorado, no question about it. I'm struggling with this one a lot. I don't understand this line, and usually when I don't understand a line, it ends up being Stanford like winning or losing by 3.
Yeah. LFG says, Search says, do you think Colorado is a respectable football team capable of covering 12, David?
I just took them.
And LFG says, heard Ashton Daniels is out injured. I have not heard that. Do you want to take a quick look and see?
Yeah, I'm looking.
So Pac-12, I love Greg over at the Pac-12 that does a lot of the stats, and he'll give you some different things, like different notes. So Colorado's Xavier Weaver, through 6 games, he has a team-leading 507 receiving yards. He's the first Buff since 2019 to have over 500 receiving yards in any season, and this is only halfway through.
Ashton Daniels will play, or he's available to play this game.
Okay. You know what Stanford's note is for this one? Okay. Ben Urosic, the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
He leads all Pac-12 tight ends in rushing yards, 42. That's the note for Stanford. I'm taking Colorado.
Dark. That's really dark, man.
That's a very
dark note.
I'm taking Colorado. So this is the worst overall start for Stanford since 2006 when they were 0-9. They did beat Hawaii early on. This is not good. I can't justify. I mean, I don't feel great about having Colorado win by 11.5 points, but I feel way worse about. I mean, I can just see 49-3 in the Coliseum. I feel like this is one like Colorado can kind of get rolling and get to 5-2, and then lose some games kind of down the stretch. So.
Yeah, and there's a chance Travis Hunter's back, so I'm feeling Colorado here.
I feel like pretty good about this one, but not. Yeah, that's what White's a lot says about Travis Hunter, so he could be back. So we'll see about that one. Okay, so fun little it's a good appetizer. I feel like it might be a blowout, whatever, but it's Friday, it's a Pac-12. And you get a little action going on. We'll have it on where I'm in. We'll be in Chicago, like doing a little meetup and stuff. So we'll have this game on. That'll be a lot of fun. Then on Saturday, really things start to get good. We have
California Golden Bears.
Gotta go beat some
Utah Utes.
You've got a really interesting definition of good. Things start to get good. At 12 p.m. on the Pac-12 network, Cal is indeed traveling to number 16 Utah. Utah, like Colorado, is an 11.5-point favorite over the Bay Area school traveling in. This, again, makes zero goddamn sense to me. Utah obviously has kind of its famous offensive issues and has for, I don't know, the whole season. But it's Utah. Again, this is very important. This is very important information. It's Utah at home. Utah at home is a superpower. Utah at home beat Florida by 13. Utah at home beat Weber State by 24. Utah at home beat UCLA, which we now have verifiable proof has an elite defense, 14-7 at home. They're not so good on the road, but they still beat Baylor on the road. They lost at Oregon State. Cal is none of those teams. Cal's not good. Cal is the most middle of the road you can imagine offensively, the most middle of the road you can imagine defensively. Fernando Mendoza looked a little bit better at quarterback. Is he going to look good at quarterback against Utah? I can tell you definitively, no, he will not. He will not. Nobody's going to look good offensively for Cal against Utah. They're going to score 10 points. Will 10 points be enough to cover against Utah? No, because I think the 10 points will involve probably a pick six or a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Utah will also do something weird on special teams that will score them a touchdown. They're going to end up with 24 points. It will be 24-10. Utah. Take them to cover.
Wow. Well, I'm going to go with Cal. The sturdy Golden Bears.
You're insane. Your picks on Cal, I would like to go back and verify, but I think you are over this year.
I might be.
It feels like.
Well, if we would have had confidence last week.
Well, you had Oregon State last week, so you're not over.
Right. I had Oregon State last week, but Cal was they looked on offense like I thought they would look.
Yeah, but what happened to you doing the 2-week rule? You don't look at what they did last week. You look at what they did 2 weeks ago to make a determination.
That didn't work very well. So I'm going to go switch it up. Plus, I need to
I think operating with rules about how you're picking is maybe your first mistake.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
No,
Utah's got a freaky good defense, and Cal's offense is not good enough to take advantage of it. That's my main thing here.
I mean, so we have comments in the chat about above the Mendoza line, boom, which is a baseball term. Dude, the Dodgers got swept, by the way. I was like, you don't care, but the Dodgers got swept. That was bad. Yeah, the Mendoza line, if you hit above 200. So, yes, love that. The little notes we got from the Pac-12. Cal is currently in line to play 5 straight games against AP-ranked opponents. Utah's number 2 in that stretch. Since 1980, no Pac-12 team has ever played 5 straight ranked opponents in the same season. That's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Utah... They've won 26 straight games at home versus unranked teams. It's the 4th longest streak in FBS. And 17 straight at home overall. It's the 3rd longest active streak in FBS. So that's an interesting one there. And, Cal's not been very good on the road. They're looking for their second road victory over a ranked team in the whole Pac-12 era.
Wow.
So they're 1-19 in that time. That's not good. But Fernando Mendoza, second career start. He was really good last week. I think he's going to be good this week. So I will take him to cover. It's I could see Utah winning this game by 7, right? It's you can see that, right? Utah just wins a game by 7. I think it's very likely. If they don't, they'll probably win by 28. But I'm just going to, I'm going to go against you. And I'm going to take the Utes.
All right, fair enough.
I mean, I'm still going to take Cal to beat the Utes.
Fair enough.
Plus, if they upset Utah, then you're out of the survivor pool. So that's even more to root for. I love it. Okay, next up we have. We could probably skip this one. I guess we'll talk about it.
Oregon Ducks.
Going to Seattle to take on
Washington Huskies.
All right, this is the big one. 12:30 on ABC. Number 8 Oregon at number 7 Washington. Washington's got the 3 points at home, so they're favored by 3. That indicates if this was a neutral field, it would be an even game, which feels 100% correct.
Yes.
These two teams are not only evenly matched, they are very similar. Down to resume, down to the makeup of the teams, they're both
colors.
They're both offensive juggernauts. Washington has arguably the best pass offense in the country and a pretty good rushing offense. Oregon has almost certainly the best rushing offense in the country and a very damn good passing attack. Defensively, they're very similar. Oregon gets after the quarterback a little bit more. Washington plays a little bit more coverage based, a little bit more just kind of sound tackling. but really even. And then if you go to the resumes, Oregon's played one good team, Texas Tech, on the road, beat them, close game. Washington has played a slightly more difficult schedule in aggregate, but they haven't played any team as good as Texas Tech. They played Boise State, though. They played at Michigan State. They played Arizona. And so they've had a little bit more seasoning, I would say. Like the quality of their opponents has been a little bit better. But the problem for me is Washington hasn't faced a defense that does things exactly the way Oregon does. They get after the passer so well that it's going to be the first real major test for that Washington offensive line. And I just think it's going to be a little bit leakier against a pretty good Oregon pass rush. And then I think Michael Penix is going to be under a little bit more pressure. I still think he's going to be really good, but this is going to be a marginal game. So you're looking for where's the matchup advantage, where's the potential for disconnect. And I see it. Oregon's pass rush I could see causing Washington's offensive line some issues. So because it's 3 in favor of Washington, I'm going to take Oregon.
Whoa. Bum, bum, bum. I thought Washington was going to make the Pac-12 Championship game. I don't think to do that. You're going to win this one. And, I like the Huskies here. They haven't had, the Oregon. People are commenting in chat. Do you think Texas Tech's a good team? They're not.
Texas Tech's a really good team. Are they out of their fucking minds?
No, weren't they bad?
No.
What's their record?
Texas Tech has lost 3 games. They lost at Wyoming. Everybody loses at Wyoming. They lost Oregon at home, and they lost at West Virginia, who's turning out to be pretty good this year. But they're good. They're totally fine. Like they're going to finish. I don't know. What does Connolly have them projected? They're going to finish a bowl team easy.
Okay,
and it was on the road. So that's the only. So they're rated 26th in SP Plus right now. Because they probably should have beaten Wyoming. Washington has played the best team they've played according to the SP Plus. The best team they've played is at Arizona, which is worse than Texas Tech. At Michigan State, they're a top half SP Plus team. Or Boise State at home is a top half SP Plus team, and they blew both of those teams out, but struggled a little bit with Arizona. And of course, it was in the desert, but struggled a little bit. So Oregon will be this matchup for both teams is going to be the first time they've played an elite opponent. So any analysis we have, it's all bullshit. Who knows? But that matchup between Oregon's defensive line and their pass rush against Washington's offensive line is the matchup of the game, and I just see it. I see it stalling Washington's offense a little bit more than they're used to.
All right, we'll see. I'm taking the Huskies in this one, laying the 3. I could see them winning by 3, but I feel pretty good about this one. Washington, they're the only FBS team averaging over 400 passing yards a game, actually 446.4. They are on pace to have the best yards per game of any FBS team since Texas Tech did 463, and that team was quarterbacked by Patrick Mahomes. So that's a comparison there. I like that.
There you go.
Bo Nix is the first player responsible for 55-plus TDs at multiple schools. We already talked about that one. They give us an old one on that one. I'm not sure I like that. Obviously huge game here. A couple other notes. I think that was. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think that was all the notes I had for this. Oh, there was a Chris Felica note. So in the Pac-12 era, it's the first time. So this is the first time that both teams were ranked in the top 10. These teams have played, which is kind of crazy. And the first time since 2004 that 2 Pac-12 teams have faced each other when both are 5-0 or better, which is kind of weird. The last time was 5-0 USC beat 5-0 Arizona. That was Arizona State, 45-17 back in 2004. And apparently, they didn't put this in the notes, but Felica said during that same time frame, like the SEC has had like 15 of these matchups. I forget what it is exactly. But this is the first time since 2004 you've had 2 Pac-12 teams playing with unblemished records of at least 5 games.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy.
That's crazy.
When you think about it.
Yeah.
And we did a little bit. So, we got Gameday is going to be there. It's going to be crazy. Obviously, the winner is going to be in the driver's seat, taking the lead there. So we'll see. how this one goes, but this sort of starts like the fun season, right, for Pac-12. Like we've had a couple good weekends, but this is going to be great. These two teams, two top 10 teams playing each other. You got to love it.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we have, let's see, it is
Arizona Wildcats.
On the road, taking on
Washington State Cougars.
All right, this is 4 p.m. on the Pac-12 Network, so you can watch the full Oregon and Washington game before turning this one on, which is nice. Arizona, and by turning this one on, I mean finding an illegal bootleg stream from Livonia. Arizona at number 19, Washington State. Washington State is an 8-point favorite at home. That's kind of significant for me. So I like Washington State a lot. I think they've been very good this year. UCLA caused them some issues. I don't think Arizona is going to be able to cause them the same sort of issues. But Arizona is a pretty decent team.
Yeah.
They're not horrible. And Washington State isn't like they blew out Northern Colorado, which is horrible, and they blew out Colorado State, which is pretty horrible. They're not blowing other teams out. They beat Wisconsin by 9. They beat Oregon State by 3. They lost to UCLA by 8. Arizona's decent. Here's the question for me. If I knew Jaden DeLora was starting, I'd take Washington State in a heartbeat. But there's still a chance Noah Fafita starts in this game. Yeah. And because of that, I got to take Arizona. 8 points is too much. I think Washington State wins the game, but I think Arizona, as they've made a habit of doing this year, is going to play a competitive game.
All right. I do like Washington State at home a lot. The fact that they were able to get a win against Oregon State there. They beat Wisconsin. There's a lot of points, but Arizona played Washington, USC, and now Washington State, and they put some great efforts into those other two games to fall short. I feel like there might be a little bit of a hangover effect here going up to the Palouse. Maybe a little bit of a get-right game for Washington State after the debacle that was the Rose Bowl. So don't feel great about it, but I'm going to take the Cougs in this one. And think they get a win at home.
Serge brings up a great point. Can't believe David is even considering trusting Jed Fish coming out of concussion protocol. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, he is recovering from a piano falling on his head at halftime of that game. We don't know yet if he is fully recovered. The only thing that I have to consider here is that Arizona has not lost a game by more than 7 points this year. They lost 31-24 twice, once on the road, and we saw the triple overtime loss to USC. I don't think it's a question of them like they're just playing up to these guys and they're expending all of their energy, they're expending all their great effort. I think it's a good team. Like I think they're fine, and I think a fine team can go on the road to Washington State and not lose by 8. I think they can keep it within a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but not this week. We'll see. Arizona, Jacob Cowing set a school record with 4 receiving TDs, and Noah Fafita threw 5 touchdowns. It's the most an Arizona quarterback has ever thrown in a game against a ranked opponent. So that's pretty cool. And Washington State, before his first interception at UCLA, Cam Ward had thrown 161 passes without a pick, the most of any FBS quarterback to start 2023 without an interception. So kudos to him. Okay, next one up, we have
USC Trojans.
Taking on, and you can do this one if you want,
the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Give me my pot of gold. I don't know, man. Did what I could.
You did. That was not bad. Someone actually in the beginning of the chat was like, I can't wait for David to do his
yeah, well, you got it.
Yeah.
4:30 p.m. on NBC, number 10 USC at number 21 Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 3-point favorite over the undefeated USC Trojans. How is this possible, Ryan? How can they disrespect the Trojans this way?
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense. How could you possibly do this? So here's what we know. Notre Dame's a good team. They did, however, just get absolutely smoked by Louisville on the road.
They were beaten down.
Yeah, it was 33-13 at one point, finished 33-20. They also lost to Ohio State, a game they probably should have won. Otherwise, they've been fine. They've mostly been playing some kind of Dookie teams, and then they actually played Duke, beat them on the road. They're solid on both sides of the ball. They're not really one or the other. You thought Marcus Freeman, it was going to be all defense. It's been a good defense, but they've been a fine offense too. Sam Hartman had a bad game against Louisville. I don't think he'll have a bad game in this one. It's hard to trust USC right now. That's kind of the issue for me. I think they could totally come out more focused and blow out Notre Dame. I think they could absolutely win by a couple of touchdowns. But the USC we've seen for, 3 straight weeks, really, at ASU, at Colorado, and then Arizona at home, has been unfocused, disjointed, bad defensively. And again, at a certain level, you are what you look like. Like, it's not, oh, we're playing bad. No, it's just you are bad. Like, your defense is just bad. And it's whatever you want to say, coordinator, players, however you want to point the finger. The defense isn't good. I think Notre Dame's going to be able to score on it. And then it's a question of, okay, is USC going to do what it does offensively against what is, again, a pretty good defense? It's not like something it's not UCLA level, but it's a pretty good defense.
Yeah.
I got to go with Notre Dame here. I think
I knew you would.
I think they're going to be able to score. I think they can get over 35, and I think that'll be enough.
We were picking a lot of games differently, but that was sort of the strategy because you got me. We were tied, and then you got me by 2. So
but what happens after this week when you're then suddenly like 8 games?
Then
back?
I'll pick everything different. Now we'll probably like split them all and just be like, be kind of even or whatever. Yeah. For me, this is sort of like USC's played a bunch of teams that were better than. Every single one of USC's spreads were them favored by at least 3 touchdowns. And they only covered 2 of the 6, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, Arizona's very good at covering the spread, so you should like your pick there. I think they're 5-1 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, USC's not been good with this one. And I feel like this is sort of where the rubber meets the road. Are you playing down to the competition? The coaching staff continues to talk about how they're better on defense. They've made a lot of strides, and the media, the fans, nobody seems to. They're not on the same page when it comes to that. But I'm going to give Lincoln Riley the benefit of the doubt here. And okay, you're playing a real team. It's on the road. Do you come out and win? And I think the good thing is they're actually getting points. So I feel like instead of having USC to cover some huge spread, which if I was betting you, I bet USC. I don't know. I think I didn't bet them to cover against Stanford, but I bet them a lot of the other times, and they usually weren't. And I've been really bad at picking USC so far. Really bad this year. Mm-hmm. Like the worst team, the team that I cover was the worst team I've picked for the spreads. But they've all been massive spreads, and you're just like, oh, they're covering it or not. Some of them were just like, it wasn't even close. Like the Arizona game, like no. So you feel like all you got to do is go on the road and win. They have the best player in the game who didn't throw the ball that well last week, but still figures out a way to win.
Against the 86th ranked defense in the SP+.
When you're like, it doesn't really matter about that stuff. Notre Dame, their last 3 games were Ohio State, Duke, who was ranked, Louisville, who's ranked. And they got pummeled last week. This is their 4th in a row. You can get up for this one. The body blow theory, I think, comes into play. So I'm going to take USC plus 3 points. I get to get points with USC. I don't get it.
Can I give you a little data point?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Arizona was the best team that USC played in the first 6 games.
Right.
The SP+. They're 39th, right? They would be the 6th worst team among the next 6 that USC has to play.
Right. No, they're going to play, but this is the first of those. Like you could say the same thing when USC plays like at Oregon. I'd be like, oh yeah, they've just played. Boom.
They have to play 5 teams ranked in the SP plus top 25 over the final 6
But this
games.
is the first one. There's not there's no hangover effect.
Right. But there is a hangover effect from almost losing to Arizona, and probably you should have lost to Arizona at home.
No, they should have.
And
lost.
I don't think it's a
Arizona
hangover.
outplayed USC.
But here's the thing. I don't think there's a hangover effect. I think there's a our defense is dog shit and it's not getting any better effect.
They really don't think their defense is dog shit. And,
I heard Lincoln
and
Riley
Notre
say
Dame
that.
is not very good.
I heard Lincoln Riley say that this week, and I know I've said this a couple times, but I have never, ever heard a second-year head coach with a 17-3 record sounding that embattled. It's crazy.
Right. No, I see your point there. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. This is where it's real, though. When you take, you didn't play good enough. There's one thing to say you didn't play good enough against bad teams. There's one thing you didn't play good enough against your peers, your good teams, the teams that are ranked like you are. If they play poorly there, then it's like this will change my opinion on USC and stuff going forward. This one, I don't think Notre Dame's that good.
Notre Dame isn't that good. They are good though. Like they're better than Arizona.
If I'm getting points with Caleb Williams, I'm going to take the points. He's still there. He's still the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go with that. USC's note is they've won their first game ever that went to triple overtime. They were 0-3 in triple overtime games, so they won close ones. And then I think they didn't have really any other. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So okay. So it'll be interesting to see. Caleb Williams was really good last year against Notre Dame. He completed 81% of his passes. So, all right. So we have that one, and then we have one more. Right? We have
UCLA Bruins
on the road taking on
Oregon State Beavers.
5 p.m. on Big Fox, the nightcap, starting 2.5 hours before it usually does. Number 18 UCLA at number 15 Oregon State. Oregon State is, as of right now, a 3.5-point favorite. That line has moved. I think it opened at like 4.5, 5, went to 5.5, down to 3.5 now. I think that speaks to just this one kind of being a tough game to gauge. UCLA after Washington State, I think we can all agree, has a certifiably very, very good defense. The offense, not so much. Oregon State is the still reigning champ for like kind of most balanced team in the Pac-12. They're pretty much even on both sides of the ball. The offense itself is extremely balanced. Like they're good at running, pretty good at passing, and then defensively, they're not quite as good as we thought they'd be preseason, but they're fine. Like they're decent. They've had some struggles though. They obviously lost to Wazoo.
Yep.
They didn't play great against San Diego State, beating them 26-9 at home. The offense kind of sputtered a little bit against Utah. Everyone does. And then the defense got very, very leaky last week against Cal. And the problem for me with Oregon State is that their defense is getting leaky in different ways. Washington State was basically able to air raid them, and then Cal was able to run it down on them. And it's hard to gauge exactly where that defense is because the best offense they've played is Washington State, which is pretty one-dimensional. It's a very, very passing, very, very good, but very, very passing heavy offense. So how good is Oregon State's defense? Well, doesn't matter. UCLA's offense is not good right now. And maybe they'll be able to score some points, but really it comes down to, for me, this matchup is, and this is sort of the same logic with the Oregon-Washington game for me, is that Oregon State's been very good at protecting the passer, except in one game this year. Who was it against? Utah.
Utah, okay.
They gave up a whole bunch of sacks, and they gave up 13 tackles for loss. What's the defense that's most like Utah this year in the Pac-12? UCLA's. So I think there's going to be the same sort of stuttering that happens with the Oregon State offense that was in that game. And I do think UCLA's offense, even as it is presently constituted, is better than Utah's was. So I think it's going to be a much closer, much more competitive game. And because of that, 3.5 points, that's too many. I'm taking UCLA.
What a homer pick. Holy crap.
Boy.
Do you know where this game is being played?
Is it in a neutral site?
No.
Las Vegas?
No.
San Diego?
Try again.
Is it a bowl game?
It's sort of like Eugene.
Oh, they're playing it at Oregon? That's interesting.
Yeah, but it's not.
Oh, you mean a little bit further down the road?
Vegas?
Interesting.
Where Pac-12 teams go to die.
That is true.
Like literally, sometimes they don't come back.
Yep.
It's an abyss. It's very difficult to win in the Southern Palouse, in the Corvallis. Yeah, I would say 3.5 is a little, I feel much better with 3.
Mm-hmm.
When I bet this one, maybe I'll add the hook to it, and bet it down, buy it down to 3.
But on our show, you don't care about that, and you're just like, whatever, I'm going to take them?
I'm going to take them. The Beavs at home. Do you know how many touchdown passes DJU had in the last game? I don't even really mention this in our
5.
recap. 5, baby. Mm-hmm. You were just all over him, how terrible he was. 5 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And that Cal offense, I mean, they would give there was a lot of, they gave up 40 points to Cal. But Washington gave up 500 yards to Cal. Like, Cal's pretty good.
Yep.
Except when I pick them, then they're bad. But yeah, Oregon State covered on the road against Cal. I like them to cover at home against UCLA. This is a perfect situation where Washington State comes down, UCLA is on a high note. I think you might even texted me this. They're going to go on the road and just get trucked by the Beavs.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think UCLA is going to win like 10 games this year, but this is one of their.
You think they're going to win 10 games this year? So you think they lose this one and then sweep out the rest of the games?
Potentially.
You think they're going to beat USC is what you're saying right
Maybe
now?
not. But no, they could win their bowl game. It'll be 10.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ryan, today on the Podcast of Champions, predicted that UCLA is going to beat USC on
No, I
November
said
18th.
they could win their
Wow.
bowl game.
That's a shocking statement. Sorry, USC fans. That's it for your season.
I would say the Bruins are going to get their asses beat by the Beavs. Another animal that David could not defeat.
Trevor says UCLA's offense is number 25. What do you mean not good? So they're number 23 in the SP+. That is still carrying over a lot of preseason projections. When I'm saying not good, I mean it's not Chip Kelly offense level, and it's much more explosive than efficient. Like their success rates are bad. This is the least successful offense he's had at UCLA, I think, after that first year. Their success rate is 100th. So success rate is, your how often you get at least 5 yards on first down, at least 70% of the remaining yardage on second down, and 100% of the remaining yardage on third down. They're not doing that. They're not putting together drives very well. What they're doing is hitting big plays downfield. Those are not random exactly, but they're a little less predictive of whether an offense is good. And rushing success rate, not very good. Passing success rate is very bad. So they have a lot of work to do. The offensive line has some issues. So take the I don't know what you're looking at for number 25. Take if it's total yardage or whatever, take that with a grain of salt, because it's the underlying data is not very good, and it's the predictive factors are not very good for UCLA's offense so far this year.
Yeah, I mean UCLA's got a freshman quarterback, and I don't think Chip Kelly's record in the state of Oregon is all that good, right?
No, certainly not.
It's probably bad. I assume it's not good there.
Yeah. He's rough in the state of Oregon. He struggles with the mist.
All right, well, those are all the Week 7 games. It should be a lot of fun, so hopefully you guys can get out and
the only thing I don't like is that there isn't a night game. Like a lot of these
are a
lot of these are really packed in. Like, why is that Arizona at Wazoo game at 4 p.m.? Throw that one on at 7:30, Pac-12 Network. What the hell?
Yeah. Eric says Corvallis is north of Eugene, and it's not like it. Yes, we know it's not like it. There's a little.
It's a little joke.
A little bit there.
Boy, howdy.
People are, especially Ducks and Husky fans right now, a little sensitive going into this one. It's just it's such a big game, right? And all your trash talk through the whole season, the preseason and all this stuff, what do you say if you're a Duck fan and you go in and Washington beats you? Or what do you say if you're a Husky fan and, it's like, I feel like there's, I don't know. We have that circle right now with Utah beating UCLA, UCLA beating Washington State beating Oregon State beating Utah. There could be one at the with the top too, where you have Oregon, Washington, USC. There could be a bunch of beatings and stuff going on there too. So That'll be kind of fun. But this is the first domino to fall. Like this, what's going to happen in this one? And then UCLA, there are people they're talking about. Hey, but UCLA could be a sleeper playoff team. But to do that, you got to go on the road and get a win with your freshman quarterback. It didn't go very well at Utah, so Dante Moore's got more seasoning, so he's got to go try to win in a really tough place. But if UCLA gets a win in Corvallis, that's like, boom, the schedule gets easier, right? And then you set up with USC at the end. So why couldn't UCLA be a dark horse playoff contender? There's just, with all these teams that are doing really well, undefeated or one loss, we just haven't had that in the Pac-12 in a long time. That it's not just like, well, what if this one team wins out and they can make it? Like, there's a lot of teams, if they get hot and they play great the second half of the season, there's no reason they can't be in it. So, and UCLA is one of those teams. So this is so much better than what we've had to cover at this point of the season, where by week 3 you're like, there's no more playoff contenders. Like, we have multiple playoff contenders in the Pac-12, so it's so much cooler.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. It's Oregon, Washington. I mean, even Washington State is still in it. Oregon State, UCLA, USC, Utah. 7 friggin' teams.
Yeah,
right.
With one loss, right?
Yeah,
or less.
Yeah. So it's what we said preseason, right? This is going to be incredible year for the Pac-12 in its final year of existence, and it's playing out that way. Now, we could be 3 weeks from now and everyone's eliminated. Like,
right.
It could 100% happen because that's the Pac-12's way. But as of now, it's playing out where, you might get to the end of the year. And so say Washington beats Oregon or Oregon beats Washington this weekend, and then they sweep out, and then we get a rematch of those two teams, and the reverse happens. How are you going to tell anyone that those two teams shouldn't be in the playoff?
Yeah, the problem is the Big 12 is going to have, like, it's probably going to be Oklahoma and Texas and, like, an undefeated or one-loss team from there.
The ACC is probably going to have a playoff team this year.
Yeah, the Big 10,
yeah,
for sure. So it's like there's not spots.
Yeah.
Like, it's more, I think the championship is more open, but there's not, like, open spots where, like, the Big 12 before was sort of like everyone was like, well, TCU got through, but this year it looks like blue bloody, and like, okay, well, you're not going to leave out Texas or Oklahoma, and they're probably going to beat the rest of those teams. So there's not going to, like, I think you're fighting for a spot.
You're getting into the USC thinking again because Sark is a former Trojan. They've definitely got another loss in them.
Texas could.
So Texas right now is 5-1.
Right.
They beat Alabama. Yeah. Alabama was like
on the road.
Alabama was a broken ass team at that point. They've gotten better since then. Then they lost to Oklahoma last week. But like, their slate remaining, they got to go at TCU, which despite what Colorado did to them is fine. They got other losses in them, man. This is a Steve Sarkisian coach team. I'm not sure if you're remembering that.
Right. But I mean, Oklahoma's looked really good. Like, I feel like
Oklahoma's more the problem.
But like, if there's a rematch, and that it's going to be a good resume booster, I think. So I think it's going to be tough to get 2 in. But I feel like Oregon and Washington the loser of this game could still make it. Like,
yep.
I think that's certainly still possible. You'd have to go back and win the Pac-12 championship game. You don't want Cal to go into Utah and win. You don't want Arizona to go to the Palouse and win.
That doesn't really matter as much.
Well, I mean, you're talking about 7. Like, okay, there's less. And then.
Yeah, I was talking about Washington State's not making the playoff.
But I think the Apple Cup would be, if like Washington's trying to get in and the Apple Cup is really good and Washington State, has won most of their games, as opposed to if Washington State's coming in, 7-4, something like that.
I guess. I mean, but they'll still have the win over the Arizona team that would have beaten Washington State this weekend. So I don't think that stuff matters as much, because I think the strength of the Pac-12 was built already. Like, the strength of the Pac-12 was already created with the non-conference performance. Now it's okay, can your elite teams, the acknowledged elite teams, which I think at this point are Oregon and Washington, and then, there's a tier below that includes a lot of teams, but Oregon and Washington, can they emerge relatively unscathed?
Yeah. And that's another big the out-of-conference slate was why the Pac-12 is strong this year. And here, if USC beats Notre Dame, That helps Oregon, helps Washington, because you're going to play USC. You'd rather beat a USC that beat Notre Dame than one that didn't, So it's kind of, and plus the huge one at the end of the year when Stanford and Notre Dame play, like that's going to have a huge impact on.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But
it will. No,
but it does,
absolutely will.
Like if you're Oregon, you'd rather USC beat Notre Dame because you'd want to beat them in Autzen and you'd rather have them be undefeated or whatever, kind of going into this. So, so this is a great weekend, a lot of fun, really looking forward to it. So why don't we take a quick break, come back and answer some questions. Back in a minute. All righty, we're back here on the little thing we call the POC. What's up, David? How was your break?
It was great. I had a nice time. I went to Hawaii.
Oh, very nice.
And it was lovely.
We picked, how many games do we have this week? 1, 2, 3, 6. And we had 5 of them we picked differently.
That was a bold
we both
choice
took
on your
Stanford
part.
on the road. Should I just switch that one to Colorado and pick them all different? Would that be fun?
I did not take Stanford.
Oh, did I write the wrong thing?
Yeah, I picked. Okay, now I got to check your work.
Okay, Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. I got Utah. I had Oregon. I had Arizona. I had Notre Dame, and I had UCLA.
Okay.
Okay.
You got to check my work because you don't do work, so why would do that?
So you're taking Colorado now?
Yeah, no, we both did. No, that's the only one we agreed on.
Correct.
But should I switch it to Stanford? Is what
You should.
The question is.
Do it.
Nah, I'll just stick with that one. So we'll have 5.
So that's the only one that's going to be wrong for me.
You're going to go 1 and 5. That'll be great.
Yeah. All right. Questions. This is from Fred in Sarasota. Deja vu all over again. Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame looks a lot like Clay Helton at USC. A guy with no head coaching experience who is already there, gets promoted to the top job, and does not do well. USC should beat the Irish.
I would disagree with the premise. Marcus Freeman is a fine-looking gentleman. He's but different, right? He was.
Was that an attraction comment?
He's a very attractive man. Is that okay? Am I allowed to say that?
I mean, if we're talking about that, can we talk about Sam Hartman?
That's as far as like.
Come on.
Duos, coach and quarterback.
Yeah, no, it's good looking.
He would be up there, for sure. I would but it's a situation that, like, was it 3 years ago? He was the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati. Like, he was a Group of 5 defensive coordinator, and now he's in year 2 of being the head coach at one of the most prestigious universities, football programs in the country. Most tradition, all that kind of stuff. There was the wacky season, right, where we've not seen blue blood coach leave for blue blood job. Lincoln Riley did, and then Brian Kelly did. And so Notre Dame was kind of like, well, do we take a while to pick, or do we take our popular a defensive coordinator? I think their offensive coordinator hire was, Tommy Rees left for Alabama. I forget the name of the guy, but just hasn't, whatever. I mean, Sam Hartman's great, but he's not looked great the last few weeks. It's tough. I mean, it takes a while to kind of like, you've not done this before. I think there's going to be, when you hire someone like that wasn't even a Power 5 defensive coordinator all that long, now he's your head coach. I think you have to give him some time. I know some fans wanted them to switch offensive coordinators, but like, I don't know. Do you want to go 3 in 3 years? I think that's going to be tough. I think the expectations were really high once Notre Dame got a great quarterback, but it's been a little shaky. This is a huge if you're a Notre Dame fan, if you're what's going to happen with Marcus Freeman. I think this is a huge week for them. You got to try to get a win against USC at home. If not, and this is a 5-3 team, then it's going to be like a lot of questions. Like, everyone thought this was a potential like fringe playoff team, and now you're like 5-3. Could have lost to Duke, probably should have beat Ohio State, but like, you didn't win those games. Last year was the bad games, right? Like, they lost to Stanford, they lost to Marshall. This year, I mean, it's a tough stretch here, and you still got Clemson coming up. So I don't know. I feel like you got to give him more time. He was good at his job. Like Clay Helton he wasn't known as a great offensive coordinator. He was just sort of at the right place at the right time. That was more about dysfunction. This was more about it was like sudden change, right? Brian Kelly leaves. You're not expecting like, but he was a really good defensive coordinator, so at least you have that to fall back on. Like, I don't mind the assistant coaching hires when they're really good at whatever they're doing. Not like, why did you hire Kenny Dillingham? Because he got a great offense.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have him run the offense for a while. Like, well, what are you doing? Like, that was the whole point.
Right.
I don't know. Was that too long on that?
No, I mean, I would just add, kind of echoing that point, it's way too early to know if it's a Clay Helton situation. I strongly doubt it, actually.
I don't think
so. Clay Helton, I mean, okay, earmuffs to the people who like me trolling about it. He was a dunderhead who shouldn't ever have been hired. Marcus Freeman is clearly a guy with talent. I mean, you don't stay the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati under Luke Fickell unless you're good. And then he was hired at Notre Dame for a reason as their defensive coordinator in that last year of Brian Kelly. And then he got the top job, and he's done. So here's the thing, and I think the best perspective on Notre Dame, however you feel about how they've performed so far this year, they lost by 3 to Ohio State in a game they probably should have won. Like, if you watch that game, they probably should have won it. And then they lost at Louisville. Louisville's a really good team. They're undefeated right now. They beat a then undefeated Duke. That's a real win. They went at NC State, which is not an easy thing to do, even when NC State isn't great, and they beat them bad. Like, it was like 42-24. So all that
They NIL'd it up, right? They like Louisville had like the big NIL thing going.
Yeah,
on.
Louisville was going hard with that. But the main thing is they've actually improved a ton from last year. Last year they went 9-4, but there was some real leakiness in that 9-4. They lost to Marshall. They lost to Stanford. You can't do those two things. But that's kind of rookie head coach stuff. You sometimes lose games like that. But even with that, they won some games that were like, oh wow, they won that game. Like, they beat Clemson, beat them bad. They beat South Carolina in the bowl game. So the way I would look at it is they've improved a lot this year. They're definitely not a playoff team. They're already eliminated from that. But they still have the potential. I think right now the SP Plus has them going probably something similar to last year, like 8-4, 9-3. 9-3 is what they're favored to do right now. After USC, it's basically at Clemson is the last one where they're going to have some trouble. But Pitt, Wake Forest, and Stanford, they should be able to skate through that stuff. So at worst, they're looking at 8-4. And that's if they lose both of these USC and Clemson games, which I have as more or less coin flips.
Okay. Yeah, Kyle says we say ND should have won versus Ohio State. Could easily say that they should have lost to Duke, and I think that's fair. All right, we had a question on
their post-game winning expectancy against Duke was exactly the scoring margin. They were 81% favorites to win.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Chad in the YouTube chat says he has a question for. Oh, wait, no, we don't want to do this stuff. Okay, never mind. I was like, we're not going there. I put it up on the screen though, so we're yeah. Sorry. We did have a question from Amy. I'll pull that up. Look at it. Why is the offensive coach not on the sidelines like the head coach and defensive coach? Why are they always up in the booth? So that depends. It's not always just. So sometimes you have. It's a view. You get a better view of what's going on. If you ever watch a game from the sidelines, it's really hard to see what's going on. Like, if it's over there, it could be, that was a tackle for a loss or a 10-yard gain. And sometimes you can't tell. But from up top, you can kind of see more like the whole board, right? You can see chess pieces and stuff. So a lot of times, if you're calling plays on the sideline, like if you're the head coach, you're on the sideline. But other times you see offensive coordinators. NFL, all the offensive coordinators are up in the booth. Like they're making their calls down there. They're on headsets, calling it down. The play gets relayed in. But it's just more about the view. You get a good view of like sort of what the whole field is doing. Where's the defense going, and what are they, how are they lining up, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think Chip Kelly calls all the offensive plays. He does it from the sideline. And he says, there's a disadvantage of obviously what you just said. You don't have as much perspective, but you've been doing it a long time. You do get better at kind of, seeing what's going on, even if you can't really see it that clearly. You get a better feel for like, okay, that's what that looks like from this angle. So I get it. And he said there's an advantage in that you get to talk to your quarterback, you get to talk to your offensive line, you get to talk to them on the sideline in a way that's harder to do if you're up in the booth. Like you can only get on the phone and all that kind of stuff. I generally prefer to see the coordinators in the booth. I think all that like happy crappy about talking to your team is, sure, light advantage, but the massive advantage of being able to actually see the whole field feels like it's something you should have when you're calling plays.
Yeah. We had another one from Drag Racing Duelist. If at season's end and all things are equal, when you compare Pac-12 teams against Power 5 champion Y for the final, so Pac-12 team X against Power 5 champ Y for the final playoff spot, will the college football playoff leave out the Pac-12 school out just for PR reasons?
No.
I think the opposite. I think it's the last. People feel bad it's the last year, and they're willing to give the Pac-12 the benefit of the doubt.
I think even beyond that, again, I've made this point a lot over the years, and this will be the last year I get to make it. The Pac-12's issue with making the playoff had nothing to do with any conspiracy against the Pac-12. It had to do with the Pac-12 not having good enough teams to make the playoff. This year, there are good enough teams to make the playoff, and if, by chance, Washington loses to Wazoo, Oregon loses to Oregon State, and they drop other games, then they weren't good enough to do it. Right now, they look good enough to do it. If they can continue on undefeated or with one loss, they will make the playoff.
So that's why you really wanted to see the playoff expanded, right? That was your thought process. You said there's two solutions to this. One, expand the playoffs. Two, dissolve the conference. And you got both. You both of them.
I got everything I wanted, and it tastes like ashes in my mouth.
All right. Oh, we have emails too. What's the next
All right.
one?
Next up, we've got Robert.
Oh, Jesus.
Rob in Seattle. Go Dogs. A response to the Oregon fan from the Tuesday podcast. Dear Oregon fan who tried to take shots at Washington's football history. Cool that you did a deep dive on our school's history. I never thought to take a look at Oregon's because I'm pretty sure there is none. A quick decision to not Google it to confirm my assumption confirms my assumption. Kudos on the last 20 years of consistent regular season success. Tip of the cap on the 12-game winning streak. That sucked. I've got nothing on the 0-12 season. That sucked. I was a freshman in the stands in Pullman at the Crapple Cup where it took a low-scoring double-overtime game to decide who the worst team in the country was. That was kind of funny. Ripping off a meme that I send to my Oregon friends once a year when they decide it's time to start talking shit, here's what I know about our two programs' histories. All-time series wins, Washington. All-time win percentage, Washington. National championships, Washington. Conference championships, Washington. Bowl games, Washington. Wins all-time, Washington. Bowl record, Washington. Heisman winners, Oregon. Consensus All-Americans, Washington. NFL draft picks, Washington. First-round NFL draft picks, Washington. Total weeks in the AP poll, Washington. Weeks at AP poll number 1, Washington. What's that? Stop living in the past, you say? All good. How about that most recent matchup when the Huskies strolled into Autzen last year and Penix rained balls all over your giant vomit yellow zero? You know, the game 2 weeks before Oregon State also beat that ass? I like the state of Oregon. I even like the city of Portland. Cy, if only you were in Portland and not Eugene, the place Big Ten schools reportedly really didn't want to have to travel to during the expansion negotiations. Portland is a great place to visit for an excellent meal before going to a sex-positive strip club with a mixed-gendered group of hyper-progressive friends. But by nearly every measurable and meaningful statistic, Oregon is the most pointless state on the West Coast. Oregon, a state founded in part by Southern sympathizers who decided to legally forbid black people from settling in their state, it's been mostly downhill since 1859. Now, if you want to hear some real bullshit about Washington national championships, look up the 1984-85 season, in which UW finished number 2 in both the AP and coaches poll. Despite going 11-1 and beating number 3 Michigan and eventually number 2 Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, the lone loss was to 14th-ranked USC, the national championship was awarded to a 13-0 BYU team who played a bunch of tight games against 1980s WAC teams. There's your history lesson for the day. Anyway, eat shit, my dear Oregon fan. If you attend a game, I hope you enjoy watching your team lose in our bigger, nicer city, at our bigger, nicer stadium, at our bigger, nicer school and campus with love and respect and just a whisper of pity. Rob in Seattle. Go Dogs.
Whoa.
Wow.
We should clip that, I think.
Wow.
That was a little. So when he was going down those stats, it seemed pretty even, right? Was that I didn't pay attention to the whole thing. I heard both sides being called, so that it's about split down the middle.
Yeah, very much an even exchange there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Way to bring it, Rob. That's good. Wow. Let's see. We don't do that. Do we do the text message? Yeah. So, hey guys, this is a text message. Dylan in Maine. Since Dave thinks a good chunk of the Pac-12 coaches are stupid, a mid-season coach power rankings would be great.
Ooh. Okay, I like that. All right.
Is it going to be based on like team, or is it stupidity, or like what's the?
Well, okay. Let's just base it off
criteria?
Let's just base it off of like quality of coach, because I think that generally goes in with stupidity, right?
Okay.
You think so?
I think we could do it.
Okay. I think you got to start with the GOAT, Kalen DeBoer, up the top.
What?
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer.
The GOAT?
He's the best in the league, right?
Oh.
No question about it.
No.
Not even a competition,
No.
right?
I mean, I wouldn't pick him first.
Who would you pick first?
I would pick Lincoln Riley first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Kalen DeBoer first. You can have Lincoln Riley second. Kyle Whittingham third.
Kyle Whittingham. Yeah.
Then we're going. I think you got to go. You could be bold. Go Deion Sanders fourth. I think I'm going to go with Jonathan Smith fourth.
I mean, so what about like past, like, is Chip Kelly going to be there? Because like
I will not allow it.
Well,
and if nominated, I will jump off the show.
Okay, but I'm saying but he's got his resume is way better.
But he's not good right now. Like, he's fine. It's been okay the last few years, but it's not like it's
okay. So you're like, it's not like what have you done for me lately? Then
it's like, what have you done for me? And you know,
he went to a playoff and
like a decade ago.
But he did that,
right? But he's not doing
Kalen
it.
DeBoer hasn't done anything like that.
Kalen DeBoer was coaching at like Sioux Falls for most of this.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
And he had like 3 losses in his entire time there. He's very good.
Okay.
Come on, project a little.
All right.
All right, so you got those. Then I'm going to throw like a. All right, so let's say Deion is after Jonathan Smith. Then you can throw Chip Kelly in there. That's fine.
Okay.
Dan Lanning is somewhere in there in that middle portion. I like him. I think you could raise him up, but
it's tough. He hasn't done much.
I think the idiots are like, you know, you're talking your Jed Fish, you're talking your Justin Wilcox. You know, David Shaw's not in here anymore, sadly. But like those are
Troy Taylor's sort of like, he's got to be more in the middle. Like we don't.
Yeah, we just don't know. Jake Dickert, we just really don't know a whole lot.
Dickert could be higher. He's done pretty good.
Honestly, on an idiocy scale, Lincoln Riley's up there. Continuing to employ Alex Grinch is one of the dumber things he could be doing with his time.
I mean, I think it's a fair argument, but he's like won 4 conference championships. Like
he's got a really good offense.
He's been a head coach for like 7 years, and he's got 3 Heisman Trophy winners and 4 conference championships.
Do you know how many points they've given up in conference play this year?
Like a lot, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's also done a lot of shit, like in a very short amount of time. This isn't like ancient history.
Like what shit?
Like 4 conference championships, 3 Heisman trophies, 2 college playoff appearances.
He had 3 Heisman Trophy winners? That's amazing. How many national championships did he win with all those great players?
He did.
That's amazing.
That's 1 player a year. Wow. And a second place finisher.
The offensive production must have been insane. Have they had the #1 offense in the country like every year he's been a coach?
It's been pretty close.
God, so the defense would only have to be a little bit better. Like they would only have to be like top 40 and he'd be winning championship left and right?
Probably, yeah.
So these defenses, have they been really good?
No, they've not.
Has he? Okay, well, okay. So sometimes that happens. You inherit a bad defensive staff. Has he hired really well there?
So this is funny. Like,
has he maintained a really?
Okay, he hasn't won a national championship. He's done more than any other coach in the Pac-12. So that's why you take him first. Like he's still done more than any of them.
Okay, does he have a?
Except Chip Kelly, you could argue, but you don't like.
Certainly, he doesn't have a potential fatal flaw, like I don't know, loyalty to a horrible defensive coordinator who's never going to win a national championship with him.
We'll see. I love that's like it goes from like, well, I really like.
Again, these were stupidity rankings to an extent.
Okay.
So from a stupidity standpoint, he's definitely middle of the pack at best. Because, good God, how do you maintain Alex Grinch as your defensive coordinator when he has lost you any opportunity to actually win at the highest level?
Okay.
Right? Because Oklahoma and USC, I don't know if you know this, historically not poverty programs. Like they're programs who consistently compete for national championships. And if you, as the head coach of those programs, install something that inherently will prevent you from doing that, that's very stupid, right?
Fair, sure.
So like Alex Grinch, that's stupid to employ him. Now for the rest of these, like Kalen DeBoer, we don't know because he's coached at Sioux Falls, Fresno State, and Washington what he's going to do when he actually gets to that level. I think this weekend will be interesting data.
For sure.
Do they beat that ass? If they beat that ass, I think, woo, okay, he's just a winner. He's just going to continue to win. And if they don't, it'll be, okay, well, they still have some work to do. But we don't have, like, he is not limiting their potential simply by a decision he is making. Lincoln Riley is. Like he's limited USC's potential with this like transformative figure at quarterback.
I mean, they're 17-3.
Yeah,
I like what Kalen DeBoer's done because he took a 4-8 team and won 11 games.
Yeah,
he took a bad team and in Power 5 and turned them around.
Right.
But Riley did the exact same thing.
Exact same.
4-8 to 11 wins, like literally the exact same thing.
I wouldn't say exact same.
Well, it's pretty darn close.
So Washington mostly inherited like a ton of the roster. I mean, Lincoln Riley came in and like brought in an entire like transfer class that immediately elevated the talent level to like an 11-win program.
Well, that's what a good coach does.
Sure. Okay.
Like that's the whole point. Is like,
but who else did he bring?
What does Chip Kelly do? Talent acquisition.
But hang on. Who else did he bring over with him?
He over Alex Grinch.
Yeah, and had Alex Grinch had a ton of success at Oklahoma as their defensive coordinator?
I don't know.
Like, was he super popular among Oklahoma fans? Did they like him a lot?
I don't think they did. No.
Did you get the sense that like Oklahoma's defenses were like really strong and improving throughout?
They
his
really
time?
didn't like much, especially when he left. There was a lot of bitter feeling. There was a lot of bitter feelings. But Oklahoma's good now.
They are, and do you know why?
Well, they're playing good defense. I think.
Oh boy, howdy, are they? Yeah, they have a good defense, and
former
here's
UCLA
the
quarterback Dylan Gabriel's doing really well too.
And here's the interesting thing: so they hired a defensive head coach, right? So they're top 25 now in defensive SP+. How's their offense? Is it top 5 in the country?
They have former UCLA quarterback there, Dylan Gabriel.
Damn, interesting.
What was his stats at UCLA? I don't know.
He was great, elite. Yeah, aside from the COVID shortened year, Lincoln Riley's defenses at Oklahoma were all ass, ass,
and made 2 playoffs and won 4 conference championships.
Yeah, well,
so I'm just saying there's some accomplishments there.
Not an Natty.
You want to compare that to any other Pac-12 coach and say, who's won a Natty? No one's made a damn playoff in the Pac-12, which is crazy. But this year, someone's going to make the playoff. So who would be your dumbest?
Dumbest has got to be Jed Fish right now.
You think so?
No question about it. And this is, Justin Wilcox is up there. Obviously a very stupid person. What, we need the offense? We need to have one? Oh, no. Like Bill Musgrave? How'd you do that? The hell's wrong with you?
He was almost a Ducks head coach.
You got shit for brains? Like, do you have, like, actual shit leaking
Oregon
out of your
almost
ears?
hired him.
Good God. Jed Fish, it's hard to blame him for his stupidity. As we said during the show on Tuesday, he had a piano dropped on his head. So it's hard not to lose some brain cells when that happens.
Cam said, hang Dylan Gabriel's jersey in the UCLA rafters.
Yeah, Eric makes a good point. Dumbest is Mario, even though he left. Yes. Mario Cristobal was definitely among the stupidest head coaches I've ever experienced. Down to, like, their offensive style was, no, we're just going to run the ball forward. We're going to slam it into the line. And because we have a lot of talent, we're going to get 4 or 5 yards a clip. But, like, taking CJ Verdell and it was beautiful what they did with CJ Verdell because I believe he was legally blind, judging by how often he ran into the backside of his offensive lineman, and doing what they did and then not playing die enough to the point where he decided to transfer away for his final year of college. That was good stuff because Die was always and forever the better running back in that group. Always.
I felt so too, yeah.
100% of the time, and yet he was inevitably playing behind CJ Verdell.
So Miami is that they do that. They lose to Georgia Tech where they should not have lost. I mean, they already beat Texas A&M this year. Like, they got a good win.
Yeah.
And the very next day, like, a very highly ranked receiver who like decommitted from Georgia, like the two-time defending national champion, picked Miami. Like he saw that and said, "I'm going to go to Miami."
Yeah.
Like, how freaking awesome is that?
Yeah, that was awesome. All right, what's next? We've got another question.
Is it challenge accepted? Or?
This is the text message. Hi, Brett and Alejandro. This is Alan in St. Louis. Last year, USC was 6-0 to start the season, and everyone thought they looked, quote, okay against a bunch of cupcakes. Fast forward to the end of the year, and it turned out that Fresno State and Oregon State were actually pretty damn good. This year, USC is 6-0 again, and it feels like a similar script. Personally, I think we're going to look back at this season and realize that Arizona State, Colorado, and Arizona were actually pretty decent, and if anything, Notre Dame and Utah were overhyped. I guess my point is, USC's schedule to date hasn't been as soft as people think, but they're not exactly facing a murderer's row to end the season either. Anyway, curious to get your thoughts. Thanks for doing an okay job at this podcasting things. I'm sure you guys will get the hang of it someday. This is a very nice email from Alan in St. Louis, so I feel horrible about what I'm about to say.
Okay.
But this is pre-coping. This is pre-grieving. This is one of the stages of grief. It's a stage that happens before the other ones, where you are you're trying to start to accept what's about to happen. The difference between the two seasons is that Oregon State was good at the time. It wasn't like an unknown. We knew Oregon State was good. And, you know, Fresno State fielding a quality team under Jeff Tedford is not out of the question. And
Sure.
They still beat them by like 28, didn't they?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. We weren't having like these conversations about USC at that point. They weren't playing triple overtime games with Arizona at home where they looked like just dookie the entire time. Look, I mean, okay, I can see being like semi-optimistic that ASU will look like a little bit better by the end of the year. ASU is not winning more than 3 games this year. Like, it's not going to happen. So even if they do,
They got a tough schedule.
even if they do qualitatively look better, no one's going to be changing the narrative based off of ASU's remainder of the year. Colorado, I think everyone accepts them for what they are, which is dangerous, but not very good. So I don't think that evaluation is actually going to change that much. I think Colorado could be staring at pretty much its high point right now. I mean, if you look at their schedule remaining,
they'll beat Stanford. They'll be 5-2.
Yeah, they'll be 5-2.
It's gonna be tough after that.
Yeah, then it's going to be so Colorado. Just so everybody has the picture of what we're talking about. Right now, they're 4-2, but they have to play Stanford. They're 70% to win that game. They'll win it.
They got a bye.
Then they have to go at UCLA, Oregon State at home, Arizona at home, at Washington State, at Utah. That is 5 teams ranked in the top 40 of the SP+. Bowl game still seems possible. Yeah. Anything beyond that seems foolhardy at this point. So, again, the evaluation isn't going to significantly change of what that was. It was USC going on the road against a decent enough borderline bowl team and struggling to put the game away. The evaluation of Arizona isn't going to change much. It was USC at home struggling to put a borderline bowl team away. USC on the road at ASU was the recipe of a lot of, kind of USC games over the years with Clay Helton, which was playing down to the level of a bad team on the road. Now, that happens even with good teams. But the 3 data points in a row, I think, would be the concern for me if I was a USC fan.
Yeah. By the way, I'm missing a press conference right now to do this. Like literally for my regular job, Lincoln Riley is speaking right now on Zoom, and I'm doing this instead. So yeah, I was checking Twitter to see what's going on there. We have a YouTube question from Catherine. Let's see. What are the odds the Heisman winner is in the Washington, she's lowercase, so I'm assuming she's an Oregon fan, Oregon game, and which is your quarterback is your favorite? Or which
Sorry,
which
say
quarterback
that
would be your
again?
favorite? So what are the odds that the Heisman winner comes from this game? Oregon, Washington. And then who's your favorite from those two?
I think Penix elevates himself if he is the reason Washington wins this one. Like if he throws 4 touchdowns and looks excellent, then I think he's in the front in the front of that race.
I think so, yeah.
Bo Nix seems like he's lost a lot of like that preseason hype momentum, but he's actually playing really well. So I don't I don't know. I think if he has an excellent performance, suddenly people will be talking about Bo Nix again. But he doesn't seem like he's got the same juice. Like, you know, people are talking about Caleb Williams, they're talking about Penix, but they're not really talking about Nix so much, which is kind of crazy considering the big hype train going into the year. But like, just looking at his stats, he's got 15 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He's only got 1 rushing touchdown. If there's one thing I would say, his rushing numbers are not
what they were before.
They're not what they were last year when he put up. I mean, if you go back and look at that, he had 89 carries for 510 yards and 14 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
When you're a dual threat, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but even if your like rushing average is more or less the same, if you're not putting up those touchdown numbers, people don't get as excited about it. And he's only got 1. And he's averaging 4.6 yards per carry, which is a little bit less than last year. But that wouldn't matter if he was punching it in on the goal line a lot.
Catherine says she's a USC fan, but she grew up a Washington fan. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, she put UW in lowercase, so don't do that as a Washington fan. But anyway, yeah, I agree. So I think you got to better on what you did the year before, and I think that's sort of a knock. Bo Nix had the dual threat ability. Maybe he rushes for a whole bunch of touchdowns, but he had so many last year, it was kind of crazy. Penix is like, I think the most highest rated quarterback in the country or something. I mean, he's got some good stats. He didn't throw any touchdowns against Arizona, but he's still up there. Caleb is still like blowing everyone away with touchdowns and stuff, and he's running, he's got a bunch of rushing touchdowns too. So I feel like if Washington wins, I think Penix goes, he'll be like, if the straw poll thing, he'll be the leader and has a good shot because he plays against USC later and he could outduel Caleb Williams. I think that's a good thing. I think it's going to be harder for Nix to come out of this one, but it's the second half of the year. If he plays really well against these great teams, then I think he can kind of put himself up there. But I think Penix's numbers are in a good spot. Like Caleb Williams' numbers are a good spot. For Bo Nix, I think you probably have to win out. But I think he's got to get some, improve on the numbers a little bit too.
All right, we got an email from Hank. Subject line: fish.
Huh.
Gentlemen, would you rather be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond? Thinking about realignment, I know we can't take money out of this equation, which is why I'm asking for personal preference as it relates to the departing Pac-10 and the remaining Pac-2, and whatever likely amalgamation comes about with the Mountain West. I love the question, Hank. I, personally, would prefer, if I were a fan. I'm not a fan. I'm an objective, nonpartisan journalist. But if I were a fan, I would prefer to be a big fish in a small pond. Why? Because winning is more fun than losing. Thank you for your time and attention in this matter.
I think I've always just been a big pond guy and just try to make myself the biggest fish as possible. Because, you can still be a relatively big fish, but you just look smaller in the bigger pond.
What did we just learn about BYU in 1984-85?
They won a championship.
Going 13-0 in the fucking whack.
True.
Be a big fish in a small pond. It is the path to success.
My personality is more, I want to be in the big pond.
No.
That's what I like. That's me.
Incorrect.
So you could say no.
Invalid. Invalid opinion, sadly. Also, if you were a fish, which would you be?
Oh. There's some cool fish. I definitely want to be a predator fish.
I'd be a blowfish.
Oh, so you're looking defensive.
I just want to get big. I just want to get swole.
Yeah. Some of those yellowfin tuna,
you want to be tasty?
Well, they're good, but they're badasses. They crush some stuff out there. They're eating things and they're going after it. I don't know who do sharks even do they go after them? Humans do. I don't know. I'd have to look at the food chain, but I know that some of those yellowfin tunas are crazy predators and stuff. When we catch bluefin tuna, one of the techniques is using kite fishing. So if you're on a boat, the flying fish are out this. When you see a bunch of flying fish, there's usually tuna because they eat those things. So you can catch bluefin tuna by you basically have a line out and a flying fish, and it's on a kite and it skims the surf. So it's behind the boat, so it's trolling, but it's not in the water. It's bouncing up and down in the water. And those damn bluefin come out and munch on those things. That's kind of cool. So I want to be one of those like fish that attacks stuff like that.
Very good.
You
Okay.
know? Okay. We have a text message came in late. Dylan in Albuquerque. While Notre Dame's pass defense is ranked 3rd nationally, they played Navy, an inept team to passing, and FCS Central Michigan ranked 105, and Duke and North Carolina State that are both tied ranked 94th in passing offense. Hot take maybe, but Caleb Williams may put up 500 yards passing this weekend. Biggest question, will estimate average 10 yards a carry. What was that?
I think it's estimate. I don't know.
It's all lowercase. I wasn't sure. But I guess that's a name. Will he average 10 yards a carry? So, yeah, I think Notre Dame's going to have a lot of success running the football because that's what they do well. Probably throwing the tight end and stuff too. But, yeah, I just got a feeling Caleb Williams is going to have a big game. But, you know, been wrong a lot. We'll see. We also have one from a YouTube question from Turtles Are Good. How many backup running backs in the Pac-12 are better than prime MJD? Wait, what?
How many
backup running backs in the Pac-12 are better than prime MJD?
Maurice Jones-Drew.
So he's trolling you, I would assume.
I don't know if he's trolling me or trolling the concept of Jonah Coleman being like MJD.
Oh, people were talking about that.
Yeah, in the last game.
And you said, hell's the no.
I mean, you're talking about a running back who outperformed Reggie Bush when they were both in school together, at every level, actually, not just at their respective schools in Los Angeles, but certainly in the NFL as well. So it's hard to say, really, how many running backs, period, in the history of college football are better than Maurice Jones-Drew. Because certainly he was obviously quite a bit better than a Heisman winner at USC.
I mean, he was like the 4th best running back in Los Angeles at that time, right?
Reggie Bush?
No, MJD.
Because Reggie Bush wasn't even as good as another guy on his team.
No, you had Reggie, Lendale, Chauncey Washington, and MJD. They were he was up there. Top 4 is pretty good.
You may not have known him as Maurice Jones-Drew at the time, which might explain your confusion. He was just Maurice Drew at the time when he was, again, the best running
What's
back.
up with the
Los
UCLA
Angeles.
players changing their name all the time? They do this a lot.
Well, his grandfather died on the way into the Rose Bowl, and he added his name to his last name.
Nice.
Yeah, don't you feel like a jerk?
No.
MJD.
Changing names.
Well, also MJD sounds cooler than MD.
True.
Because people would confuse him with a doctor, and I'm sure he could do that.
USC's had some of those.
Maurice Drew was if you've ever seen him in person, he is the strangest human you've ever seen.
Just shape-wise.
Oh, my God. So he's like 5'6", right? He's super short. His thighs are as big as your torso. It's insane. He was just a stunning-looking human.
Yeah.
They don't make him like that.
No, he does is he an NFL Network guy now or something?
Yeah.
He does.
He does a podcast, too, of some sort, I think.
Okay.
He's
good
awesome.
For him. USC's had some name changers. So, Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's a hard one to say.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster.
So, think about this. There's an NFL player right now named Juju Smith-Schuster, who I covered in high school, and his name in high school
was John Smith.
John Smith.
Yes.
And he is now Juju Smith-Schuster. So that's a pretty big change in a few years.
Yeah. John Smith. I remember the days of John Smith.
Right. Were we might have been friends then, I think.
Yeah, we were. That was the classic cycle where UCLA was targeting a bunch of guys who were also looking at USC, and UCLA had convinced themselves that they were getting all or many of them.
Oh, God, I remember that.
Yeah, and so it was like a Dory. I think Damian Mama was in that class, or maybe it was the year after. I can't remember. Juju, variety of guys.
There was a few bro posters a little upset.
Little bit ticked off,
yeah,
so to speak. But yeah, that UCLA staff was wow. Just the delusion was truly otherworldly.
Jim Choi said started with Lou Alcindor. Yeah, that was a big name change.
Different kind, though. He's making like the religious change, so okay. But like Maurice Jones-Drew adding an extra part of his surname Juju Smith-Schuster, just adding an extra part of that, and then also changing his first name from the real to the nickname.
Yeah.
That's
like kind of the double.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. Kyron Ware-Hudson just became – he's a wide receiver out of Mater Dei at USC. He's now just Kyron Hudson, so he dropped the Ware.
UCLA got a running back or a linebacker this past year who was a Trey Edwards, and we're like, his name's Trey, but no, he's Larry Edwards III, and now he's going by Larry. It's like, come on, man.
Change it. I don't like it when they change the pronunciation.
You mean you're still bitter about DJ, aren't you?
Well, no, there's some. I mean, you try the Polynesian names. You start like, okay, you say it a few times, you get it down. We learn them a lot in high school. I remember Palaie Naoteote. Like, he was a 5-star linebacker, never really made it, and he transferred to Ohio State. But I'm at the Polynesian Bowl and doing a stand-up video interview with him, and I said it. I'm sure I said his name wrong, and he goes, Naoteote, because it's like it has a G in there, so it's like G-A. I forget what it was, but so it's Palaie, which that's not too bad. But his last name starts with a G, but it's pronounced Naoteote, and I was like, okay, so. It became, I think one of the podcasts used like that clip, and they used it when you're saying his name a lot. And so I learned how to say it. But then if like you really it's like painstaking. You learn how to say these names. And then when like Kirk Herbstreit interviews him and he says it wrong and they just go with that or whatever, like going, or, they get to the NFL and they start saying it differently. I'm like, wait a second. You told me this in high school. Like, you know how to say your name. Like,
all right, so I've just texted you the name of a soon-to-be UCLA. Well, he's practicing now, and I would like you to pronounce it on air and tell me what you think it is.
How could I do this? Burke?
Okay.
Is that pretty good?
Yeah, it's all right.
Bayuktansel?
That was a great American try. Do you want to know what that is?
Yes.
Barke Buyuktunjul.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Yes.
I'm glad I got the first name.
All right, I've got another one for you.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you're doing another one. There we go.
Wait, what is his nationality?
That one was Turkish. This one is French.
Oh. This is French. Okay. Ilane. No.
Okay.
Fibuli.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Ilan Fiblui.
Okay.
Yeah.
No A at the end.
Yeah.
For the Ilani. Ilan. Yeah, so it's more like, okay.
Yeah.
That would be the more French pronunciation.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Way to put me on the spot.
That was great. No, I will say this. You outperformed my expectations.
That's good.
Yes.
I try to do that. Okay. So I think we're done, right?
Are we?
Do we have more questions?
God. Do we have any more? Let's see. No, we have no more questions today. We are all done previewing this week of Pac-12 conference play.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah. All right. It doesn't look like Lincoln Riley said much. My staff didn't really tweet that much.
He didn't get like super defensive about like a perceived criticism.
He potentially could have. That was more on Tuesday. I guess today.
I don't think you people understand how hard it is what we do here. You don't understand. You're not looking at these guys. You don't have a trained eye. I think my Lincoln Riley impression is just out of control.
I don't think it's very good.
Otherworldly.
It's just not that good. Like, you have some good ones. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap stuff up. But man, 2 shows in like 48 hours. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you have a lot of fun this weekend. Watch some cool games. If you're in Chicago, stop by the Theory Bar on Friday night. We're gonna have a little gathering.
You guys gonna drop some philosophical theories?
I don't know.
Some political theories?
I want to get
religious theory.
I'm getting deep dish pizza for sure because that's what I do when I go to Chicago. Do you like deep dish pizza? Are you a fan or not really?
I love lasagna. Yeah. What do you mean?
It's very good.
Why are you laughing?
What's your favorite kind of pizza? Like, not like
New York style
topping. You like the New York style, like the folded crust. And,
yeah,
I mean, it's very good.
I like pizza. And I like
good.
lasagna, but I like pizza. You know?
Yeah. No. What? New York is great. Like, if you go to New York City and you're just walking down the street, even if you're not hungry, you grab a slice somewhere. Like, it's just like you got to do that. Like, it's good. And go to one of the really good places. Like there's some awesome spots. I mean, obviously you get Michelin star dining.
What about
in New
that
York,
disgusting? Is it Pittsburgh that does the uncooked toppings on the top of it?
I don't know. That wasn't a thing when I was a kid. They do like the coleslaw and like French fries on. They put French fries on a lot of stuff. Like their salads, like steak salads, like they put like steak but they'll put French fries on their sandwiches, like the Permani brothers, I believe, something like that.
Yeah, and that style has caught on in other places too.
Yeah, that sort of became
that
big.
Fat Sal's in Westwood. They do like all that
Pittsburgh style stuff.
Throw crap on the sandwich.
There's a lot of pierogi, so it's like a lot of Polish stuff in the Pittsburgh area. But I was like 11, so I didn't I was only drinking like Iron Suited beer.
I thought let me make sure of this because I think it's Pittsburgh has uncooked toppings. Yeah, so Pittsburgh is they'll have cold toppings, including just like shredded cheese on top of the pizza.
Oh, okay. Search says Detroit style.
Detroit style is good.
Says I say that as someone that has lived in Chicago and lives in New York.
Yeah.
What is that the square?
Yeah, it's deep dish, but it's a square cut. And yeah, it's it's kind of the same deep dishy, but it's actually like real pizza. It's not like this thick of like whatever, like Chicago style deep dish.
Oh, I do like eating with a knife and fork. Okay, Amy has a controversial point. Give me pineapple on my pizza.
Ooh, terrible opinion.
So you don't like the pineapple?
No.
Really?
No.
Like I don't have a strong I like Hawaiian pizza.
I don't like pineapple. Like I think pineapple's kind of gross.
Pineapple. Okay, when you go to the corporate meeting thing at the like Hyatt downtown or whatever, and they have like coffee and tea out, and then they have, of course, that bowl of fruit that's the same fucking stuff.
I go.
What is your like order?
Watermelon, cantaloupe, and I'll do honeydew if I have to.
Okay, so pineapple's clearly the best of all those.
Pineapple, I would throw it in a dumpster. And I really don't like berries, like any kind of berry.
Really?
Not a big berry guy.
I like grapes, like big juicy
grapes.
grapes.
Grapes, but I don't consider grapes a berry. I'm like talking blueberries, raspberries, strawberries.
Yeah. I'm not a huge berry guy, but I don't dislike
I don't like
them.
the acidic tartness, I don't love that.
As someone that like grew up working in the produce department, like that was my high school job, I think I've sampled a lot of fruits, but I like the pineapple is usually the best of that stuff. I like cantaloupe, but it gets a little overdone. Sometimes the honeydew just tastes sort of.
Honeydew is extremely bland. And it's like got that kind of weird crunch to it a lot of times. And it's just if you've got the choice of watermelon, which is like
watermelon's really good,
watermelon's a taste treat, then cantaloupe is kind of you're not getting something as tasty as watermelon, but it at least has some flavor to it. But honeydew is just it's a crunchy bit of water basically.
Amy also likes honeydew over cantaloupe, which I don't agree with.
God, wow. These are bold takes. EVS says you need blueberries in your life, Dave. Yeah, I'm just not a big berry guy. Blueberries are certainly probably if I'm going to eat a berry, I'd take those over strawberries and raspberries.
I do like strawberries.
I'd take them over blackberries, too.
You don't like strawberries?
Not a strawberry guy.
Really?
Again, it's that kind of, I don't really love that tart, acidic taste.
Yeah. All right. Well, we just wasted some more time.
Is this a waste? I don't think this is a waste. This is important.
We're doing a service.
Discussions.
People are thanking us, and they were leaving like 10 minutes ago, and then they're still not leaving.
No.
Because we're talking about cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe's great.
You knew exactly what I was saying when I said you're at the,
Oh, yeah. No, everyone knows that shit. So I don't think of it as that.
Same damn fruit thing.
Yeah. But like any kind of corporate meeting of any kind, that's the fruit platter.
Yeah. Unless, so if you're like when I aforementioned Polynesian Bowl, when you're in Hawaii, the fruit in the morning at the meeting is way freaking better if you happen to be in Hawaii. So
yeah, but is it going to be largely pineapple based?
No, but there's like there's all kinds of fun, there's fun fruits. It's not going to be, you're not going to see honeydew over there.
I'm excited to try some fun fruits when I go to Hawaii for the Maui Invitational, which will be in Oahu this year over Thanksgiving.
Oh, they're doing the Maui Invitational because of the
fires. They're doing it in Oahu.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up.
Are we? We're going to do that?
I think we're going to wrap it up.
Wow, damn. We still got 104 people watching.
Nice.
Right now.
Appreciate that.
They love our food takes.
That is David Woods. I am Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.
Au revoir.